You know, the Buddha's last day on earth, it wasn't some quiet, peaceful passing. According to the Mahāparinirvāṇa Sūtra, it was this epic, cosmic event, a dramatic, universe-spanning story about maybe the most important goodbye in history.
So picture this. The Buddha announces he's about to pass, and suddenly this great voice echoes from the deepest hells all the way to the highest heavens. The text says that in that moment, the entire cosmos just held its breath. The mountains trembled, the ocean shook, and this one single thought rippled through countless realms. The world is now empty.
So who actually showed up for this? I mean, it's just an unbelievable gathering. We're not just talking about his human disciples, but gods and celestial beings, kings from every single kingdom, mighty dragons, and yeah, even demons. Forest spirits, enlightened sages, birds and lions, they all came. It was like this endless river of beings from every conceivable corner of existence, all flowing towards one man under a pair of trees.
And all of this, it just sets up this huge question, right? The Buddha, the great teacher, was about to enter parinirvāṇa, that final state beyond death and rebirth. But why? Why was he leaving? For all these beings who saw him as their only guide, it was like the sun itself was about to just go out forever. So you have this profound sense of grief gripping the entire world, and that leads to these final desperate acts of devotion. Let's dig into the offerings that were made to the Buddha right before he departed. Okay, so the day kicks off in the morning with the Buddha's big announcement. And throughout the entire day, there's this constant stream of beings showing up to make one last offering, each one hoping for a final blessing. But everything that happened, it was all building toward this one single moment, a real turning point. And we're not talking about simple gifts here. Kings brought treasures from their entire kingdoms. Gods brought celestial flowers that would never wilt, and divine foods with these intoxicating aromas. I mean, the most powerful beings in the cosmos laid a mountain of devotion at his feet, offerings of truly unimaginable value. And yet, he refused every single one. One by one, the most powerful and divine beings presented their gifts, and one by one, the Buddha just remained silent, accepting nothing. So you can just imagine the confusion, the despair rippling through the crowd. Why? Why would he turn away all this devotion? But then, right into this scene of rejected gods and heartbroken kings, someone completely unexpected shows up. And this is where the story and the real teaching truly begins. This guy, his name was Kunda. And he wasn't a king, he wasn't a god, he wasn't some powerful spirit. He was the son of a blacksmith, just an ordinary man. And he comes forward, all nervous, carrying not divine treasures, but a simple, humble meal he'd made. And what he says is just, it's heartbreakingly simple. He says, "I am now without a protector, poor and alone. Please accept my meager offering before you enter parinirvāṇa." You can just feel it, right? There's no pride here, just pure, sincere devotion from someone who feels like he has nothing else in the world to give. And after refusing the entire cosmos, the Buddha looks at Kunda and accepts. This one small act of kindness, this simple meal, was the only offering he took on his final day. The question just hangs in the air, right? Why him? Well, that one simple act, it ignited this huge debate among his followers, and it leads directly to the core teaching of the whole sutra. What exactly is the true nature of a Buddha? See, this one action created a massive conflict. By accepting food, it really seemed like the Buddha was confirming he had a physical body, one that gets hungry, gets old, and eventually dies. But how could that possibly be if his true nature was the Dharma body, the very embodiment of truth itself, something indestructible and eternal? So which one is it? And then the Buddha drops his final lesson. He explains that for countless eons, he hasn't actually had a body that needs food. The body they were all seeing, the one that walked and talked and ate Kundana's meal, was what he called a transformation body. It's just an appearance, a kind of teaching tool created out of compassion to help guide everyone. His real nature was something else entirely. And this revelation, this is what leads us to the absolute heart of the Mahāparinirvāṇa Sūtra. It's where the Buddha basically reframes 4 of his most fundamental concepts, and he kind of turns everything they thought they knew completely on its head. Okay, first up, permanence. Now, for years, everyone heard the teaching, all things are impermanent.
But here, the Buddha clarifies. He's like, hold on, that applies to the conditioned world. The Dharma body, the Buddha's true nature, is eternal. It doesn't come into being, and it never, ever ceases to be.
Next up is bliss. A lot of people understood nirvāṇa as just, the end of suffering, an escape. But this final teaching completely redefines it. It's not just about ending pain, it's a profoundly positive state, a supreme, unconditional, and unceasing happiness that is the very nature of reality.
All right, now this next one is maybe the most radical of all. Think about it. After years of teaching not self to get people to let go of their ego, the Buddha reveals that there is a true supreme self. Now, this isn't our small personal ego, but the vast ultimate nature of all things, and that nature is the Buddha. And finally, we have purity. So often we think of the spiritual path as a way of cleaning ourselves, washing away all the bad stuff. But the teaching here is that our true nature, the Dharma, is already fundamentally pure. The practice isn't about becoming pure. It's about realizing the purity that has been there all along.
So when you put it all together, this final lesson completely transforms what the Buddha's death even means. He wasn't a man who was dying. He was this eternal principle that was just withdrawing its temporary physical form. And he uses this really powerful metaphor to explain it. He says his parinirvāṇa is like a great fire being extinguished. The fuel, the physical body, is gone. But does that mean the fire itself is destroyed? Or has it just returned to its fundamental nature?
He says it's like a bird flying through the sky. Its tracks are impossible to find. His presence was real, but it wasn't bound or defined by the physical world. He's a constant presence, not just some fading memory.
And this really leaves us with a final question to chew on. The Buddha's final lesson wasn't about the tragedy of an ending at all, but about the true nature of what is eternal. It makes you wonder, what if the greatest legacies aren't the things we can see and touch, the things that eventually fade away, but are instead what we come to understand?